I'd like to start off by saying thank you for joining me today in this important discussion. Many topics have been the subject of discussion within the center of mainstream media and culture, but no topic is visited as frequently as the use of marijuana and its legalization. Currently, marijuana is not legalized federally, but within some states, such as Washington, Colorado, Oregon, and even in our nation's capital, marijuana has been deemed legal for recreational use. Within our country, 23 states and the District of Columbia have legalized marijuana in some form or fashion, whether that be recreational use or medicinal use. When marijuana was first introduced to the Americas in the 1600s, it served many uses from the hemp part of the plant. This allowed sales to be made, ropes, other goods from the stalk of the plant. At one point, the growth of marijuana in the hemp plant was actually encouraged because this allowed the U.S. to increase its trade exports, and this also allowed for textiles to be made and increase trade back home. In 1619, the Virginia Assembly passed legislation requiring every farmer to grow hemp. Hemp was allowed to be exchanged as a legal tender in Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Virginia. If at one point in our history our country profited from the legal use of the marijuana plant, why can't we profit now? As it would stand, it's no secret that the American government and big pharmaceutical companies are in bed together. The American government seems to protect these big business companies and its CEOs while the American people suffer at the cost of high drug costs. A prime example of this was back in 2015 when Martin Shkreli's company, Touring Pharmaceuticals, purchased the rights to diaphragm, as you can see here in the slideshow, and raised the drug price from $13.50 all the way up to $7.50 per pill. 56 times the normal cost of the drug. This drug is used to treat chronic illnesses such as cancer and AIDS. Politicians will degrade the pharmaceutical industry, making it seem as if they are on our side. But as we can see, they are conglomerates. Hillary Clinton denounced the actions of these pharmaceutical companies, yet in the first 6 months of her campaign, she accepted $165,000 worth of donations from pharmaceutical companies. Within Washington, there are no policies in place regulating the prices of drug costs. So when the hands of the American people are tied, what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to die since they can't afford the drugs that are being manufactured just because the drugs being manufactured are legal? Does that mean there are not other alternatives? Why are all the drugs and remedies that may treat intense illnesses either illegal or banned substances? We were always under the impression that the government was supposed to work for its people, under the belief that the government should work in the best interest of us. Why aren't they doing that? Maybe it's because corporations are in the wallets of our government. Price controls for drugs, which are common in other advanced economies, increase affordability. But even when the mechanism is cost plus pricing, the government allows drug companies some degree of markup. Their profits will still decline from current levels. So of course, they're not going to agree to this. The producers argue that this will stifle their incentive to innovate, but the evidence is increasingly clear that we cannot count on private sector to make necessary medicines affordable. In fact, given the incentive structure, neither can we count on private drug companies to develop drugs we most need versus the ones that will be the most profitable. In health economics, maximizing social benefits is often at odds with private benefits. Marijuana has been used whenever it's convenient for the government to push its agenda. For example, during World War II, there was a Hemp for War campaign in which U.S. farmers were encouraged to grow hemp because this would allow for ropes for such as parachutes to be made for our soldiers overseas. Farmers who planted the hemp seeds were given to them by the government and then given immunity from the draft. In 1943, 375,000 acres of hemp had been grown by farmers in this program. Marijuana has been used effectively to treat many patients with diseases such as epilepsy, cerebral palsy, AIDS, HIV, different forms of cancer, migraines, reduction in pain, decreases anxiety, and even helps with food disorders. With so many uses of marijuana just medically, it's a wonder how it's being denied to our citizens. All signs point to the fact that it would take money out of the big pharmaceutical companies. So in reality, it would only hurt the 1%, but help the masses. Marijuana also helps with veterans dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder. So you're telling me even those who are willing to sacrifice their lives for our country are being denied the access to what will actually help them. It's very depressing. There's also substantial evidence that legalization can help our economy. Approximately $13.7 billion has been devoted to incarceration and the prohibition of marijuana. These funds can be allocated to more important causes, such as feeding the hungry, building up our infrastructure, helping our schools out, and even creating jobs. In 2007, taxpayers were shelling out $41.8 billion in marijuana prohibition. Since legalization, Washington State has already created $500 million in revenue, while Colorado has saved over $60 million in taxes by legalization. Currently, $1 billion is being spent on the incarceration of those with marijuana-related offenses. California profits approximately $14 billion annually from marijuana sales. And the legal marijuana industry is worth an estimated $36 billion. If legalization were to occur, the total industry would be worth over $100 billion. The amount of jobs that would be created from farmers, dispensaries, transportation of the crops, and even from the creation of accessories from smoking is undeniable. By continuing to keep marijuana legal, we are stunning our growth financially, economically, but legalization will make room for economic growth domestically through the creation of jobs, as well as create trade through exports. We are also making room for medical advancements through research. This will help out those who are dying chronically and who have illnesses that are not yet being able to be solved. Please legalize marijuana. Thank you.